Okay, so now we're going to break this vision down into the segments, and of course my first area that I'm going to talk about is where my whole journey started was through food from Jenna, my a younger daughter, who had the 24 food allergies and severe eczema as a baby. Me being a nurse and personal trainer was not helping her. So I had to step outside the box. So this is when I started seeking truth, and of course there's been quite a journey ever since. So always wanting to open up more doors and to find out more information. So anyway, so we are going to talk about this part of the leg, which comes into Codex Alimentarius of the snake system, which of course creates a lot of money. So people who are unwell creates profit. People who are well simply won't. So they want to keep this system well intact. So anyway, so Codex Alimentarius is formed from the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and of course the agricultural companies. And it's a standard that they've got throughout the whole nations, again posted of course from, we're going to go into establishment post-World War II in a minute. So here it is here. It's basically man's food code. So they're trying to modify everything that was created naturally that was to sustain us, which is from what our Creator has provided for us, which is life-giving, and it's freely available in its true form. However, today it's all been manipulated, as we all know about the artificial sweeteners and the horrible sugars and all those sort of things, which they're not from Him. They're created from man, and this is where money is made from this whole system of Isis, worshipping the wrong gods from Egypt's time. So then we've also got the farming system. A lot of the food now today is factory farmed. It's not from where it's sources naturally from rivers and lakes and oceans. And of course a lot of those things are polluted today now as well because of what we're trying to do to our whole way of life today, supposedly. And of course our animals are affected. Everything's been modified there. We're adding, it's not life-giving anymore. The profit is well ahead of what's going on to how we should be running things correctly, as our fruits and vegetables, and of course it comes right down to our soil health and the seed, which we're going to get into Monsanto very soon. So everything has been modified from the DNA segment, so it takes ownership. It's a counterfeit system. It's copied the original plan, which is designed for us for life. And this is definitely a system it's a death system that keeps bringing in the money, honey. But believe me, it's eventually just going to collapse in one way or other. Again, like I said, it's been established in post-World War II. And here we can see the United Nations, the logo. You have got one of those snakes that is also on there, and it's fed throughout the whole world now, and these snake symbols in many places. When I first started this whole journey, again here's IG Farben, he who controls the world, controls the food, controls the world, was his motto. And it comes in IG Farben is Bayer. I think we've probably all heard of that system, and Bayer is well established here in New Zealand and throughout the world, and especially in agriculture, but it has the health side of things as well. Aspirin is one of its originals that they made as well, and everything has become a headache today, so no wonder we're reaching for the aspirin more and more as a headache system. So when I first started looking into this, when I first basically with my first child, who's now 14, when I sort of come into this area of the whole food system, it was about 60% owned, 62% owned from corporate. But today, over 90% of our food is now owned from farm to fork, which is so sad, which is corporate greed and control from these very systems we supposedly trust. I had to come out of the system to actually, to seek the truth. New Zealand signed into Codex Alimentarius in 1962, and of course we probably know that would have been for the dairy industry, which is well established in this nation, which we all know is hurting our waterways, is hurting our soils, our land. Everything's been ripped out. It's just horrific. But we still keep buying into it. It's like what I call a Medusa effect. So anyway, years ago, 1913, the corn was 100% owned from farmers, and now sadly 95% is owned by corporate, and most of it now is also genetically modified. This has become a biotech system, and it's everywhere, and including, the amazing thing is, a biotech company as well here, and like I'm in Little Timaru, New Zealand, and they have one of our head guys there, science-based guy, Dr. William Rolleston, is actually one. He's just been appointed. He's got appointed a world role. Here he is here, this guy here, and he has Dr. William Rolleston has been appointed acting president of the World Farmers Organization. This was just back just recently. This is October 12th. This was printed 2016 in our local farm news. And he's a big advocate for science-based regulation of genetic modification. So they're push in this area. So he's been appointed a huge role under this whole system with the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the agricultural companies. So he's well up there. So basically, he's a little bit my opposite right now, but that's cool. Let's just hope that one day he might, if he's got children, honestly, is this system really worth it? You can't buy your health, one thing. That's one thing you cannot buy. In this system, we keep throwing money at things to actually think this is what we need today. But no, we need to come back to simple. We need to come back to real truth. And the GMOs is definitely a counterfeit system that keeps feeding many people's pockets. And sadly, it's actually taking also a lot of life out of other people's pockets. And it's just really sad. So hopefully, William, that you'll have eyes to see and ears to hear and a softening of your heart, because I believe in more hugs and less drugs. Hey, William. Then also, this is where what he's serving, and many of us are serving. It's not just the Williams of the world. Look, I was in the system. I'm a nurse, and I didn't know I was doing the same thing. So what you think, and often they actually think they're doing the right thing to, save the world as such, but it's trickery. And it has to be when we actually know where it's coming from. Here's people who don't like following a religion, but they're actually in it. We're actually in this religion, and we're following this God here. And there it is the Pharaoh's time, the snake god. Snakes bite. I wouldn't trust a snake. So snakes bite. And here's again, and there's symbols everywhere. So we've got one of the god of commerce and thieves. And then, of course, the medicine and the healing. But it's only pretend healing. It will not give you full healing. It will not be sustainable. So it's not life-giving. So there it goes again with the whole Codex system. Many have become slaves to the food industry, which we actually probably really unaware of. We get a pay packet and we just go buy food. You've noticed there's food places everywhere, but it's not really food. It's just incredible, really, which originates from this ancient system from Egypt, and it's powered by the snake gods of healing, trickery, deception, greed, profit, and death. Sad, really. And here it goes again. Of course, the opposite to God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is Satan. And here is the Baphomet. I think I don't really know how to pronounce him properly, but it basically is the Satan goat. And he wears a symbol also in the middle there, which is also assembles the American Medical Association, which again, of course, is the catechist. Money, which is, of course, here it goes. We've got the single snake, the double snake, which all relates to Isis. Ishtar, Queen of Heaven, is her other title. So this is how it's fed. And because of this, our food and water is no longer ours. Everything now has a code. It's got a labeling system. It's now our food that was once farmed properly, sweat and tears and lots of love and passion and a love for the soil and the planet and the earth, has now been taken away, and we're, it's white and sterile. There's no heartbeat to it. So whilst we need science, don't get me wrong here, but we've gone too far. Everything's becoming so PC, so rigid, so sterile that there's no flavour. There's no flavour to the food. There is no nutrition to the food, and everything is owned by corporate. I'm going to give you like a little bit of a summary here from my point of view with what's happened in the past in biblical times to where we are now. So it's basically the why, the summary, and of course the solution to it. Back in biblical times, the Israelites were led out of the ancient Egyptian times, the bondage of Pharaoh back then, which I believe were relevant right now, by miracles. Miracles had to be performed by the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His name is Elohim, Yah, Yahavah, Yahuwah, all these type of names. They are his names that people recognize him from. He wanted his people to come worship him to a land of milk and honey. That's his desire, because he loves us. So he wanted us to worship him, and he would respond back and give us everything that we need, and to love him, so it's a two-way street. But as the Israelites were coming out of Egypt into the promised land, they used to moan all the time because they weren't used to the new food. Even though he provided the manna all the way through, the manna, the food from heaven, which sustained them and satisfied them, they were so used to the food that the Egyptians provided at that time, which is delicacies, things that used to come, even though they were in bondage and they hated it, they were fed this type of food that they enjoyed. It was lust of the flesh. It never sustained them. It never gave them a feeling of peace and joy and all those inner peace, which real food is sustainable, physical and spiritual. So they used to moan a lot about it. And I sort of feel like today we're in that same time. We've got all these foods all around us, and it's everywhere. We can get what we want when we want, but we're serving these false gods. And it's not about love. Sadly, it's about money. So it is happening today. Our flesh is craving what the world has to offer. And this is Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever you are, whatever label you carry, we're all in the same boat here. We're all mortal beings. We all need food, but we're not being fed it. But we actually prefer the taste of the GMO. So, we're in that sort of time. But it will never satisfy us, this food, and it does put us back into slavery. And of course, the head is coming from Isis, which is the snake gods of Egypt. Sadly, it appears we're not satisfied with the simplicity of bread, which resembles Yeshua, Jesus. He's the simplicity. It's life-giving. It's sustaining. We want more of him and less of our flesh. So it's important to die to ourselves and not crave things that we really don't need, and it's not going to be the best for us. Because we're feeding these gods by buying into this false system, which it is, and then being fed, which is the food, the physical, and often then the spiritual is there with it as well. So it's a watering down the truth. So it's really hard to find the real deal today. And like I said, with the food journey, it's been over 90% of the food is not food. So it also resembles our spiritual walk as well. So everything's been watered down. Where is that truth? Only he can lead you to that truth once you acknowledge him in faith. So basically, these gods are not for love, but they are, sadly, for disease and death. If we follow his commandments in love, no diseases of Egypt will be inflicted upon us. Or Egypt is also representative of the world, because the snakes have got into the world everywhere. And it just makes it, what he wants is for us to see and to come out of her. Her means Isis, which is she. It's the moon goddess from the ancient times, which actually fed Pharaoh his power. It resembles a she. Come out of her, my people, and put no other gods before me. Like I said, the ancient goddess feeds Pharaoh his power, which is the snake gods, Ishtar, Isis, queen of heaven, like I said before. These goddesses they bite. And again, same thing. There we go. The catechus, the double helix, the double cobra. There we are there. And it which also resembles our DNA as well. And then, of course, we've got Asclepius, the single dollar as well. And basically what he wants us to do, the solution, is to meet him and to seek him at the cross, seek his face more than ever before. Because we are, seriously, this is a time that, and I think we all know that, whether we've got a relationship or not, common sense tells us things are wrong no matter where you are on your path right now. Common sense tells us things are seriously heating up around the world. So and this is what I love. It's so complicated. Everything's so complicated, but there is such a simple solution, and it's just having faith and believing there is a God who's created you and I, the creator of the universe, who loves us, and to receive that love, and to basically seek his face more than ever before. But you must meet him at the cross, into his covenant. And the amazing thing is once you do that and acknowledge him, he will also provide the hope. There's hope in him. This is a hopeless system, but when you come into him, you feel like people are knowing all this, even people who don't know him, they know the physical realities of the world today, but they have no hope. Whereas I have a hope and I have a peace no matter what. And it gives you such joy and peace even through the hard times. And this is where I know this is why he's now saying, to come to him. As he's our protection. That's all you need is him fully. The amazing thing is, like I said, the first one is the Codex Alimentarius, and his solution, of course, to all that whole system. He's taken me back to Genesis with the solution. So day 1, dark becomes light. So basically what I'm doing right now, revealing to you guys out there, whoever's watching this, is revealing the darkness to the light. Like he did in Genesis, he created the light. He's so super powerful, super cool. He is our superhero, seriously. So when Jesus Yeshua spoke to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but have the light of life. How cool is that? And that's John 8, verse 12. Like I said, I was actually agnostic. I didn't have a clue with any of this stuff. I didn't know there was a God. But having that relationship with him is he just gives you such a joy. And no GMOs will ever satisfy you there. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil, which is Ecclesiastes 12, verses 14. So basically, he will clean it up. This is where he's brought us to. This is the light. He's the light of the world. He's going to reveal the dark and bring it to the light. And that's the first leg. And, the snake leg, like I say, simplicity here. And I'll see you in the next segment.